Today is July 1st, 2025. The time is currently 9:09 p.m. 62. We turn the wheel of routine. I lecture space cadets on the science of the Gopta. Through the observation tower, suns peer in at us. They seem motionless, though we know that with thunderous roar they sway and rotate in everlasting night on pyres of roentgen light. And while in my mind's ear I hear them sound like terrible war drums in the long battle, light wages against darkness without end. I hear my own voice making feeble sounds in answer to my questions on the Gopta. Only by reevaluation of the new era and new extensions of the tensor calculus was it possible to find a means of discovering the split-up symmetry which through the formula of 5 divided by 3 was simplified and turned to real advantage in every tour made by the Gopta chariot. And then the space cadets got up to go in perfect line into the hall, where the next teacher, worthy and placid, Giles, speaks to them about Golconda buildings. 63. A woman from Gond, now a widow, was often seen with her husband on the star deck. For years they'd sit there with their bundles strapped as ready as though expecting a landing, though many looked at them with irony which grew colder and colder as time went by. Nevertheless these two maintained a touching expectation, gazing serenely on towards the Lyra. Still in their fond minds lingered the scent of thyme fields they'd known, and of bread she'd once baked in the ovens they'd been forced to leave behind in Gond. How many thousand times these two had studied heaven's prospectus, sitting close, absorbed, no mortal being here can tell, in space years which passed them by without a trace, until they both grew grey at last, and she was left sitting there alone, in quiet recollection of bygone days, when they had lived together, safe and gaunt, till a game of Jacob's Ladder was suddenly proclaimed by wailing sirens, and forced their headlong flight through Doris's plains. Huddled close together on Golden's airfield, they took sad farewell of Doris's valleys, and with a parting prayer they laid their emigration problems in fate's hand. I used to notice how for several years the widow sat there, quiet and bowed, while we who with ingenious leadership endeavoured to guide fate's hand began to despair of reaching the promised land. Hear us, Shinambrians, who... I'm changing my pronunciation of Sinambra to Shinambra. Shinambrians who haunt you with memories. We have passed on and now pursue you with visions. And now pursue you with visions. And no, that says no. We who have passed on and know pursue you with visions. For several years Shinambra's ashes floated gently down like snow. Each time you wake we stumble forward, our blackened arms holding up your shame. Shinambra's pillar of ashes travelled across Rhine. It reached the coast on the 5th day, and came to Cape Atlantis on the 7th, but the survivors found no hope, no refuge even in the open sea, where jellyfish were seen to founder, and Octopedia rose dead from great depths, like flowers of death. Shinambra's ashes floated across the waves. Aquatic demons and angels swirled round together, all of them dead. Religion swam into men's thoughts, carried on the gulf streams of death. The holy stone of wisdom, hidden in the slaughter mask of genius, was shot into the heart of the city of Shinambra, which died for the 3rd time. Oh, what a precious jewel was lost! We lowered a curtain of dreams, and between ourselves and memories of Shinambra, a blessed forgetfulness filled with its own life sprang up. Thus magnified, transformed, our senses soared in a new guise, bent on adventure among the dimensions. An intolerable nucleus of pain dissolved. We felt quite clearly the point at which it burst and welled out, giving a nameless bliss, in which aniara was no more, and Chifone had died. No one knew how or cared. Relief pervaded us all so easily. Isagel was there also, Libidel and the Libidinians, with the 8 Dormifieds, came gliding in, changed by the drug as though by dew in mountain glens at break of day. 66. More and more deeply has each tortured soul drunk of the paradise I have here described, but every time our laudanum is drained, our visions of Eden quickly fade. Shinambra's shrieking ghosts swarm in upon us, sworn to revenge their ravished city's fate. 67. I am roused by a scream. It is Chabeba's. She stares at me with failing eyes, their brightness lost. They dim and die. "Oh God," she cried, "I can't bear to live where there is neither joy nor hope." How fearfully, how clearly I recall Shinambra. Parched heat swept in from all directions, its climax, expertly prepared in torrid formulas, the phototurb which transformed all the air into stifling oven heat. It was in autumn. Refugees spread the tale of cool lakes where, in final agony, one might attempt to drown. It is all over now, and there is no one left to blame. The men responsible? All dead. The instigators in oblivion. The tools of power which held everything in a cast-iron grip were suddenly changed to ashes. All that could burn crumbled to ashes. The stones were glazed to a depth of 4 inches. In some places the glaze went even deeper. A foot or more of granite surface boiled. But humans were spared the sight of this. They had been whirled ahead, above, around, like shooting cinders. What happened inside the houses? Hardly anything. It was so quick there was scarcely time to grasp that it had happened. Imagine to yourself a bedside clock, which, set to measure time in seconds, is taken unawares by its own dissolution, and then boils up and whirls away as gas all in the millionth part of 1 small second. Or the woman who lay asleep and unsuspecting, and who, at the fatal instant, woke up and shivered. "No! Spare our feelings!" I hear you screaming. From the purgatory of repentance is heard the cry of Sombra, like those which echoed in Shinambra. 68. We felt ourselves drawn off our course, and indulged the hope that an end was close in the unutterable vastness. New hope fired the veins of the ancients as they felt her lurch in her orbit. Among all who were weary of suffering and longed for the peace of nirvana, the cry rang, "She staggers, our beauty!" She lurched once again from her course. Our innermost hopes found expression, and no one derided his neighbor. When different doctrines and religions met up in the halls of the ship, with pennants and crosses and emblems, prayer streamers and the sign of the lotus, she violently lurched in her orbit again, and now hope was distorted by terror, but soon raised its banners again. 69. We ran into something like a fog, which grew thicker every day, till on the 5th day it began to smolder against the ship's nose cone. Quickly thereafter, strange new phenomena appeared. A rainbow-shimmering, gauzy veil wrapped itself marvelously round the ship, covering it with a splendid spray of colors. Then a terrific display of fireworks dazzled all on board with blinding light. This festive image did not last long. We met resistance of an unknown kind next, and a hurricane of glowing particles induced stark terror. The fear of immediate death seized all of us. We all thought now of doom and death. The many thousands who had occupied the 4,000 rooms on the Golconda choked up the passages in their panic. At least 100 refugees from Gond were trampled under the assembly halls, and thousands were injured in other ways. The disturbances of gravitation which spread aboard sent waves of chaos through all our souls, when 1,000 vibrations as from the impact of huge rocks made every heart shudder, rousing such fear that nothing on the journey equaled the hideous terror which soon filled the halls and stairways, where crowding in itself caused death, a human mill driven by human fear, grinding itself in swirling waves of madness, like a spiral drill employed by Titans. The ship whirled up a cosmic sand cloud, which smoldered, glimmered, and was soon put down against the shuddering metals of the nose cone. And like a spinning top, in flames lit up, as though by nearby suns, our ship plunged on, amid the thunderous roar of the surrounding matter, deep and deeper into its gorge. And then, as suddenly as it had started, it was all over, and the Golconda fell along the loxodrome, which she retained in falling. What could it have been? The question rose. In spite of all our dead, it was put first. It seemed in some way most important, for our fantastic world of fear still gliding on its customary course towards the Lyra, and now among these dead and mangled bodies, the leaders were obliged to say what they believed and deemed a probable explanation. A cloud of cosmic snow, perhaps, the ice of some strange substance, cosmic crystal powder adrift for years, some form of eternal snow drifting about in space for 1 billion years, searching for a mountain to rest upon, to rest up in peace. The passengers accepted this hypothesis, bowed themselves and gathered up their dead, whose souls, having reached the haven of peace, had become cool as the snow, which finds its resting place on mountains of the spirit. But much was changed thereafter in the life which we led within that world which now was ours. The Hall of Mirrors, which lay for 4 long years, had nourished our illusion. The Hall of Mirrors, which for 4 long years had nourished our illusion, lay in ruins. 1,000 shattered fragments, heaped in drifts, littered the floors once used for dancing, and cut to pieces between jagged splinters. Lay many a beauty, struck down by the Yurg. The cloud had danced in space with our Golconda. With jewels placed high upon her hip lay Heba, and Daisy still as beautiful, while Yal lay dead beside the wounded Chabeba. This all befell in the 12th year after our takeoff from Doris's valleys.